Welcome. Thank you. Welcome, Matthew and Stephen.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Morning,
It's
guys.
so good to have you guys here. I'm so excited. And part of the excitement, obviously, is because I recently learned that you were New College Lanarkshire graduates.
Yeah,
so how far back? Like, were there dinosaurs roaming?
Zoom. I don't even think Zoom had been invented at that point, to be honest.
I was gonna say, like, was it a thing?
That we graduated in 2016, so over 5 years ago, which is terrifying. We were acting and performance students,
Right.
and went through the entire course. We both graduated from the BA course from New College Lanarkshire, and that's pretty much how Steve and I met and started to write together.
Amazing. So how, like, before you graduated, had you written anything, or did the writing come out of sort of necessity to get your own work out there?
No, funnily enough, there was a class that was about recording radio plays or radio adverts in our acting course. I think it might have been the BA. I'm not sure if it's still a thing. You just basically had to pick a radio advert and you would record it verbatim, like exactly how it is. And I can't really remember why, but we decided to write our own advert about a holiday company for some reason. And we thought it was kind of funny. Other people thought it was kind of funny. So yeah. That's how we started writing. So it actually stemmed from the college. And then as we went through the units, like obviously you've got to pick duologues, monologues, blah, blah, blah. Just started to see if we could write our own. And most of them were horrible, but some of them were okay. So that's how it came about.
Cool. And so was that already writing as a duo process, or did you write that together?
No, we would write together. Obviously we're good friends, Steve and I, but at college, we found that we were having fun, I guess, and discovered that writing together, we could have a laugh as well as sort of being creative. And like Steve said, other people around about us found some of the stuff quite funny as well, which I guess bolstered our egos and made us think that we could continue to do that. So we sort of bounced off each other well in terms of writing stuff for the course and so on. So we tended to work together there,
So I know, because it must be a very sort of symbiotic process because you've done it for over 5 years now, but is there a process to working together? Like, does one of you come up with something and just say, hey, do you want to have a look at that? Do you sort of spitball each other, off each other? Is there something like that, or what is the?
I mean, I think like obviously everybody's going to have their own individual / with their writing partner. They'll have their own processes, their own. But for us, pretty much happens like that. Yeah, like sometimes you'll just both come up with an idea and you can write away. But a lot of times we'll come up with separate things and then we'll bring them together. And 9 times out of 10, they usually end up becoming a lot better when we've just both put a bit of input into it. But yeah, it's just whatever. And it's just like, if you're looking to write, if you have that wee idea, just take a note of it in your phone. Just a lot of the ideas are just scribbled down on your phone, whatever. If you're walking along, you see something funny and you think that could be an idea, just write it down. And then I would obviously bring that to Matthew. He would tell me it's rubbish and then we would move on. But like, so pretty much, but we always find it easier just to kind of be in the same room and just centre around an idea. And a lot of discussion, unfortunately, happens with us as well. But that's sort of our process, but it's different for everybody, I guess.
Cool. Thank you. And so Weegies is obviously a comedy, but is that where you both naturally tend towards? Like, is that your sort of predilection, your style of predilection? Or is there, does it just happen to be that it was a comedy, but you've written other stuff in other genres, or?
Just naturally very funny. It's always been natural.
No, I think it's just, I guess, so far, what the projects that we've written and so on tended to be comedies, but we write quite a lot, Steve and I, so we've got a lot of different stuff sort of on the go. But I mean, even throughout the series, there are moments where the sort of pace shifts and you become away from comedy a little bit, you know, and take maybe a more serious tone at times. We do enjoy that. We enjoy the challenge of writing sort of, I guess, in different genres, you know, not just comedy.
I think on that note, just if there is anybody out there that's trying to get into writing or that, I think annoyingly it seems to be comedy that's like what gets you noticed, and that kind of is the inroad, because I would probably say I really like the more dramatic scenes, and we're trying to take our writing down that a wee bit for the next project. But probably in Scotland, it seems to be that, I mean, you're probably all aware of the BBC Social, etc., and the opportunities. So it seems to be that comedy is the kind of angle to get in if you can.
That's interesting. So, but do you know what you're saying about the sort of nuances in your writing? I think they totally come through in that series, even just through Barry, because Barry could, if written differently, could be a very sort of almost ridicule or grotesque character, but he's actually very endearing because because also the poetry you wrote, guys, is beautiful. And I'm not just saying that, I was just like, oh, that's actually really good. And then obviously, like I was waiting a little bit further down the conversation, but I just want to talk about the monologue on the bridge, because that's an inspired moment, like, you know, and you perform it, Matthew, as your character Paul. Do you want to talk us through how it came about? And I don't want to give too much away, but to me, it feels like it's the backbone of the series for some reason. It feels like that's what the series was about. So do you want to talk to us about the monologue and about how it came about?
Well, thanks very much for that. It's a really flattering compliment to receive as well there for both of us there. The monologue on the bridge, you know, Paul expressing his frustrations at the fact that in Scotland it's almost ambition is almost a dirty word. You know, you should almost feel embarrassed to have ambition and to sort of pursue a dream or a goal. And I guess that is the entire reason as to why Steve and I started to write this series and decided to create our own sort of project, because, you know, for a start, you know, when we graduated, even before we graduated, it became apparent that there weren't many opportunities that were going to come our way once we'd graduated from college. And so we would have to sort of go and try and create our own opportunity. And we faced and still face hurdles and speed bumps almost at every turn. And at times it feels like, and maybe this is specific to Scotland, maybe it isn't, but it feels like in this country there's a tendency to just sort of you know, put people down who try and achieve something, or who try and sort of deviate out of what is perceived to be their lane. You know, if you try something and you display a bit of ambition, you'll be ridiculed, and that for me and for Steve is a real issue, and it's something that's frustrating, because, you know, we love this country, you know, we're proud of this country and its creative history and future, but at times it feels like you're up against a brick wall. And so through that monologue, we wanted to try and express that. You know, we wanted to express to people like us, you know, independent filmmakers and creatives, that, you know, you should pursue it. You should pursue that ambition, because you only get one chance to do that. You know, you'll reflect in years to come and go, what happened? What did I do with my potential and my talents that I had? You know, I didn't pursue it because I was afraid that, you know, somebody might ridicule me or somebody might say something negative. And, you know, that's what we wanted to try and get across. You should pursue it. You should try and achieve your goals.
I think as well, a lot of, like, all your students here are clearly talented, or they're on this course, and sometimes from your background, or maybe our background, or if you're from a certain background, a lot of folk won't understand what you're doing. So when you're trying to go for a performing arts course or a film and TV course, whatever, writing, there's a lot of folk that are just not that way inclined, so they won't understand what you're doing, and they'll try to kind of slant you in a negative light, type of things like that. And it can sometimes be difficult, because it can even be through family as well. Like, if you've got older parents like that, they might not understand it. Like, oh, TV's only for Jack and Victor, you know what I mean? That's the only people that do that. What are you doing? So it's really, it can be tough, but obviously you've got your classmates, and like, just like seek out people that are like-minded, and they'll be your support network, and you can get through it.
I mean, can I get an amen? Like, mind blown, everything that you just said. And you know what I love is that the vulnerability that comes through, because for me, that's where the real authenticity is. And that's how you get to create, like, you know, stuff that you're proud of. I think that's the root of everything. What you were saying, Matthew, as well, is just like, I totally echo that. And do you feel that, you know, being a team, like being a duo, like, did that help with the mindset? Does that help you keeping on going, basically, like that sort of intrinsic like networks, support network?
Well, yeah, because, you know, if we were to write something ourselves and go and try and create it entirely, you know, on your own, I think, well, for me personally, if Steve might agree, like I think you would feel really, really isolated, and you know, you're taking a leap of faith anyway when you write something, try and put it out there. But you know, if you're doing that, like you say, as a team, then you've automatically got somebody there right beside you who is 100% behind this project as well. So it does help. It does help because you know, the two of us are able to, like I said, you know, obviously bounce off each other, but we're also able to encourage and keep the spirit up and keep the sort of belief that, you know, we are creating something good here. And obviously, and whether or not the public think that when you release it, you know, that's entirely up to them. But at the point when you're creating it, for us anyway, it certainly worked for us to have that tight team around you to help sort of keep the spirit up and like I say, keep the faith, keep the belief.
Totally, I love that. And I always say to people, like, it's not about, like, the project will be what it is, but it's about who you become in the process of making it. Because your first film may be, you know, what it is, but then the second one, and you know, practice makes perfect, I think, you know, is a good I'm gonna go off piste a little bit. I hope that's all right. I just saw that Ian Grieve is on.
Hey.
Capacity to unmute yourself, because basically, so Ian, I believe, plays the landlord in Weegies, and
Yes.
Ian was also your lecturer, right?
Yes, he was.
And I think, I mean, that's a perfect example. I'm putting you on the spot, Ian. I'm sorry, we haven't even met. But I just love that you actually, as a starting point, went with what you had. You just look around, you take stock of what you have.
Gregor wasn't available, so
yeah, I'm all they had, really. They were kind of stuck with me. No, I've always admired what the guys have done. I've really, I think I've been quite vocal about it as well. I really admired the determination that they had, even when they were in third year. They had this idea. And I'm not wrong. You did have the idea then, didn't you?
Yeah.
You were grimly determined to do it. You know, they basically, you could, with gritted teeth, they were like, we're going to do this, you know. And I just thought it doesn't matter what it ends up like, in a way. That was my thinking at the time. The fact that I believe them, they're going to do this. And I loved the tenacity. They definitely had their own brand of humor that they had, and it was in all the work that they did, and so it was infectious, and I kind of liked it. And I think what was brave about what you did, guys, is you weren't really, whether you were concerned about it or not. What was admirable about it was you may have been aware of what people thought about what you were trying to do, or even how it affected your lives and what you were doing in college, you know, because you had this ambition. This is that was part of your big plan, you know. You know, I'm sure that some people were sort of looked upon it with you know, raised eyebrows and stuff, but I actually thought that it was as good a plan as any, you know, like exactly what you said about the fact that, you know, the industry being what it is, you have to create your own work. You know, you're not going to wait for somebody to give you a job. We might as well make a job. And I'm in a similar situation to you in my life. I spent the first part of my life being told I couldn't be an actor and I couldn't do these things because of where I was from, you know. I'm from the East Coast, but Perth was like that very much. It was like, you're from Perth, you can't do that, you know. And I was sitting in the crew at Perth Theatre with people like Ewan McGregor and what have you, and we're all sitting and being told that. Well, he kind of proved them wrong. I'm still here working for you guys, but you know. Oh, by the way, can I get paid now that you're on Amazon?
Listen, you were given a packet of Doritos and a can of Mountain Dew. You've been paid. that's
that
the end of the story.
was another aspect of the way that you went about it. I don't know if that's what you want to talk about at the moment, but the way you went about filming and the way your admin and everything was really excellent. Actually, it was great, better than a lot of other film sets I've been on, I have to say, so so I was interested from that point of view as well, just to see how you were handling it, and it was great. I just have regrets that I wasn't in more bits, but that's an actor forever fishing for the next series.
But you take the hint, you can get in the next series, don't worry about that, Ian. That's
I feel better now, I'm fine. I've had the COVID, I'm fine, I'm safe.
Thank you so much, Ian. Thank
Sorry,
you.
I don't know if that answered your question, but it's that determination. What they were saying, about not. I'm a great, not a very good crusader, but I hate the fact that there's this social mobility and thing is crushed. That's why I wanted to work in this college, particularly doing what we're doing, and these guys are an example of how you can break those restraints and stuff, and so that's why I wanted to hear what they had to say for themselves today. I don't know how they did it, so hopefully we'll find out.
Amazing, thank you so much. So guys, who's going to be the next one to actually hit Alan for the next film, right? Cool. What was my next question? Actually, if we can go back to the actual leap between you graduating and Weegies. So you ran a Kickstarter, I believe, campaign. Can you talk us through? Okay, yeah. Stephen, do you want to
go? Yeah. So a couple of years before, I'd come up with the idea for Weegies, and we'd managed to. It's probably similar to what your students can do. We just approached an independent filmmaker who knew about cameras, etc. Like myself and George, who plays George, we didn't know anything, so we were in that position, and then we actually just became friends and we stayed in touch. So by the time we got to the Kickstarter, we didn't want to put that out without having a bit of content, which I think, to be honest, it is important if you're going to do it. So obviously Kickstarter, you can set your own limits, you can set your time, but I think it's important to just film a bit of content and put it out there of this is what we're thinking. Doesn't need to, ours definitely was the very good, but you're just thinking that's the kind of flavour of it, and it's something to share and it'll get people involved, and you can punt it on the socials. So yeah, we were able to raise 4,000 through that, I think.
Wow.
But I mean, that money disappears, Ian will tell you, so quickly. It's unreal. So we're just lucky that
his wages.
Yeah,
Ian, your skint. But no, none of us. But just on what Ian was saying, he was a massive inspiration for us actually having the confidence to do that, and not trying to blow smoke anywhere. But myself and Matthew being in that BA course, he gave us the drive and the belief that we actually could do it, and if somebody like him believed we could do it, we maybe could, and to get him in was an absolute it was brilliant.
Yeah.
So just in terms of that kind of stuff, it's a lot of boring work and it's a lot of logistical work, if I'm honest. The acting and the creating and the writing is amazing, and your film and TV students will maybe realise this as they go on. There's a lot of logistical work, there's a lot of organising, and we were very adamant that Ian aside, that we would pay everybody that was involved. There's nothing worse than coming out. You're going to have to do it at some point. You're going to have to do the unpaid student films, blah blah blah. But we were determined to pay people. So it's a lot of admin, and it's a lot, I know, because I helped produce it. So it's just a lot of just keeping your nose clean and treating people with respect. Everybody's got their own lives going on, so you can't just expect that they'll be free on this particular day, etc. So I think probably inadvertently came to a point here, if you're approaching actors or you want people to be involved, just make sure that you're flexible and you realise that they've got a life as well. They can't bow to your demands. You can't be a Hitler, you know what I mean? So in any part of life. But no, so that was a good learning curve from us to then get to the Kickstarter, and then etc. So it's just logistically, you need to be very on it.
Amazing. And then, so once you have that money and it's all gone, like actually shooting the series, how long did it take? Did you shoot it all in one block, or did you have to sort of, did you shoot like episode by episode? How did you go about the actual production schedule?
I mean, I guess we just sort of,
Demi?
we had our assistant director, Demi Sutherland, who really helped and dealt with a lot of sort of putting the schedule together. The thing is as well, the majority of the people who were involved in terms of that core sort of creative team, we all worked, so we'd graduated, obviously we didn't start filming until 2017, I think, so a year after we graduated. Every one of us worked full time, so you're having to fit in filming a series around, a job, which is
horrible.
Talk about logistical nightmares, at that point, personally, for me, I'd be coming off like a night shift or whatever, right into, filming the next day, which, at the time, you're thinking, oh, this is crazy, it's such hard work, but you reflect on it now, stuff like that, the people who are involved in it really giving of their time like that, that's what really set it on its way. So in terms of filming it, we were lucky enough that one of the team was one of the creative team was going away on holiday for a week, so we were able to get a flat to film in for a week. So sort of filming inside that flat. I think Ian, actually, the week that you came along and filmed, we were in the flat. So that week took care of itself. That was an incredible 7 days of filming, because everybody was sort of almost living together, and that's when the team really started to bond and gel, and that really sort of fired us on and carried us through the next couple of years, because filming this series with everybody's schedules with work, it took time. And this is the thing as well, if you're going to do that, if you're going to create a series or a project like this, you have to be realistic in terms of how long it will take. I mean, you might be lucky, you might be really fortunate in being able to film an entire thing in a week, but the chances are you're going to have to think longer term, how are we going to do this over the course of months, in our case years, how are we going to do this? And it's just about having that mindset. I can't say I had it, Demi, our assistant director, had the mindset of planning, organising, taking in everybody's availabilities and seeing when we could film, where we could film. And a lot of things come into it as well.
It's a lot of, as well, with no delusions of grandeur, you have to, if you're going to do it, write a scene somewhere that is accessible to you or that you can get. Of course, chance it. Not everywhere needs to be paid for. Obviously, insurance is a big thing, but just chance it for your locations. But write sensibly. If you're in one location and you've got multiple scenes, obviously just film the different scenes, things like that. So it's just about going for it, but you've got to just be organised.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, what you've been able to do with Weegies is, I think if we actually sat down and did like a script to screen, and actually with the episodes, like what you actually can convey, I'm coming back to the first episode with like Barry sitting on the, I can't remember what it's called then, but the hill.
An Acropolis.
Yes, and you have like a ready-made overview of Glasgow, and he's talking about it, which is it's perfect in the background. So then I guess, so first of all, that you kindly submitted a script for episode 2, which the students, all of the students have read word by word religiously.
Yeah.
And on to watch the episode and analysed how
You've skimmed through it. Don't worry, the actors did as well.
So it feels like on this episode, I don't know if it was the same for every episode, but it seems a pretty accurate, and exact beat by beat sort of adaptation of the script. Was that always the case? Do you write because exactly as you were saying, Stephen, because you know what you're going to be able to shoot? So do you write with that in mind? Did you have to adapt or go back? How many changes to the script? Has the script evolved a lot between beginning and end? I'm going to stop talking now and let you answer.
I mean, definitely. The scripts change constantly. It's draft after draft after draft. It's so boring. I think one of the times we both had a Friday night off and we spent it in a bedroom in my mum's house, arguing over where a comma should go.
Yeah.
The highlight was getting a chippy. It was just like, there's so many drafts, and when you go out to work professionally, you'll realise that when you get on places, things will change. You'll get handed different scripts for the actors. You'll maybe even during the scene, you'll maybe realise something's not working. Things will change like that. The actor, their interpretation isn't how you wrote it, blah, blah, blah. We were just quite lucky in the fact that we had a lot of the actors, they did learn, they learned the lines, which was good. So we were able to stick to quite a lot of our original, but no, our scripts changed as well, even in the house. When Ian was there, things changed, just how things are flowing that day, the beats, the comedy, if something's not quite there. Obviously, it gets a wee bit annoying when you've got people coming up saying, oh, do you know what would be funny? It's like, no, you can't. So don't ever do that. Like, just if you're on a set, just don't go, oh, do you know what would be funny if he fell on his ass there or something? Like, right, okay. But if something's not flowing in the scene, it's not working, like, it's always open to like interpretation, and you can, as long as the concept stays, you can change the lines.
Cool. So then, okay, how do we then bridge the gap between end of production and Amazon Prime? How long goes on between the end of and then the beginning of? And did you first release it anywhere? Like, did you release it on YouTube and then you had massive viewership and then Amazon came knocking, or how did you go about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, so, we wrapped up filming a few years back, and we knew that even then, so, okay, you finish filming, bang, that's it, it's a wrap. At that point, that's when the work really starts to really begins, because as soon as that series goes into post-production, you have got so much work to put in. I wouldn't even know where to start sort of describing the amount of work that goes in at that point. But we knew at that point that we had to kind of stay, I guess, in people's minds. So we were making, as well as editing and putting the series together, we were also making short sketches, and we would release those on social media just to keep the sort of our viewership up and keep an audience and keep a sort of, I don't want to say fan base, because that gives the wrong idea of how we interpret ourselves.
Can't walk down the street anymore,
Man, it's a nightmare. But no, to keep ourselves sort of, I guess, in people's minds, we were making sort of short sketches, and we put those out on social media. But we were determined that because of the work that went in from ourselves, from absolutely everybody that was involved in the series, we were determined that the series itself, we want to release that on a sort of a bigger platform. And so, more years of work begin at that point to get the series looking slick and sort of TV ready, and whether that be things such as making sure the audio is sharp, making sure the entire project is color graded as well. We take a real pride in that. If you watch Weegies, the content, the jokes, the humour, you might like it, you might dislike it, but I think when you watch it visually, it is stunning, and that's because a lot of work went into sort of colour grading and making it ready to sort of go on TV, to put it on a big screen and have it looking good. So that all these things take time, even subtitling the series as well. That takes time. I'm going to slip that in there because I spent a long time subtitling it, so that took time. But we realised that there was an opportunity to submit to Amazon, and before we done that, we wanted to make sure that it was ready to go, and to make sure that there was as little possibility of being rejected, I guess. So we submitted, and I think three weeks had passed by, and 3 of the longest weeks of our lives, pretty much. We were waiting for word back from Amazon, and eventually we got an email through, and that was a few weeks ago. We've been up on Amazon for about 3 or 4 weeks now, and it's been magnificent since it went up. The response we've got has been unbelievable. It's blown us away.
Can I come in there? I mean, one of the things that I was particularly impressed with was how you were handling your social media and the amount of work that goes into getting what is effectively your product into the kind of consciousness of the public, or getting it out there for people to see. I mean, how much work goes into that?
That's this man's remit, and I'm going to say this because he would never big himself up like this. the work that Steve has put in terms of, you know, giving us a social media presence and keeping us there. The work that Steve's put in has been absolutely magnificent. So I'll leave Steve to answer that, but honestly, superb.
I just wish the money was. Do you know what? Whatever side of the fence you're on with social media, I don't particularly like it, but it's a way to get you out there. It's free. So if you've got a project, I think regardless, get it on social media. If you've not got content or whatever, there's no rush. You don't need to get stuff on there, but when you do, it's such a handy tool to have. And you've got your art and blah, blah, blah. And it's also just to kind of, if you're going down like the route of press, it's now very prevalent that they will look into your social media, they will take note of it, they will even advertise it for you if you're going to do so. We've been fortunate enough to have a wee bit of newspaper interest and blah, blah, blah. And they always, I know they're looking into it. So for me, it was years of just trying to figure it out. I discovered, my mate in work got us onto TikTok during lockdown, which is surprisingly addictive, to put it that way. But I just get it on there and just, I don't know, I just took examples from other shows, like when It's a Sin was out, they've deleted their stuff now, but I was looking at their Instagram. Do your research about other shows that are similar to yours, your actor profiles, blah, 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 and just try and keep it interesting. But I don't claim to be any sort of expert, and I don't really like it either, so I don't post much of my own, so yeah.
I suppose that's in one way that it shows the kind of level of professionalism that you probably need to be operating at when you start to think about putting your stuff out on Amazon Prime. It does need to be slick. You know, you spoke about the grading, you spoke about the quality of audio. You also have to think about probably the content as well and what you're putting out there on the social media side, don't you? I mean, that's a huge part of it. And I think it's quite important for students as well to see that, the amount of work that has to go in to get to that point, doesn't it?
Aye, it is very important. It's really important. I think obviously, first and foremost, your product's your most important thing. And writing, well, for us, the most enjoyable part was writing the scripts. Obviously, the acting is going to be an amazing experience. But yeah, these are all the things that are probably going to separate you from other projects out there. So if you just, even stuff like trying to get your name consistent on each of the social medias, and just what you're putting out there, blah, 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 and not regurgitating the same thing. And people love new content, so even if you've got screenshots, even if they're not color graded, getting them out there. So that's for us anyway, that kind of worked. Again, I don't claim to be, or that Weegies isn't like astronomically successful on it.
Even don't be Scottish, just take the freaking compliment. You've done a great job. Just take it. I just wanted to bring in Rowan as well, because Rowan has, I see you're here. I've never met you. Hello. And I know that you've interacted with Stephen and Matthew as well. They're performance graduates. Do you want to come in and do you have anything to comment so that Stephen can actually say he's not professional enough?
I've worked with Steve both as a student and also as actors. We toured with a TIE company together. So I'm very, very fond of both Steve and Matt, and just the height of professionalism and everything that they've done, and anything I've ever worked with them or came across them. And I think the biggest thing, more obviously we're here more so from kind of obviously our acting students' point of view, but just the kind of determination that Ian picked up on, and the fact that at the end of the day they had the faith in the product, and even if the audience don't particularly like the product, is the fact that they've got the kind of they know how much work they've put into it, and the pride and the kind of the quality of what they've done is the most important thing. And being able to give opportunities to other graduates as well is something that we can't thank them enough for, and actually using NCL students. Majority of your cast are New Clan Arts graduates, so that's something that's so important for us as well. And again, the BA Honours students that are here, they're going to be starting writing and creating their own work, and you've got all these people around you that have got the expertise and are champing at the bit to do it. So use each other and work with each other. And I think Steve and Matt are a kind of prime example of doing that, which is fantastic.
It was actually at the 2017 New College Lanarkshire showcase that we were there. Robin kindly invited us.
Yeah.
I don't really know why. But we were there and we saw Dylan and Louise. That's where we saw them and we thought, get them in, amazing. Yeah. And they nailed it in the audition. So that's where we got them from. And Blair, who plays Lucy, she's in also, she was 2 years above us, I think, in college. Right. At New College Lanarkshire. So it's and
a lot of the supporting cast as well. I think probably all the supporting cast, to be honest, have come through the ranks as well at New College Lanarkshire. And, you know, I think for us, what's absolutely evident and clear is that there's a solid work ethic that's instilled in students coming through the ranks of the college, which, you know, might not be prevalent everywhere in institutions around Scotland that are producing actors and creators. But certainly coming through the college, we've found that the graduates, students, ex-students, are a joy to work with because they've got a strong work ethic and they know what's required when they step onto a film set or whatever. You know, hard work, determination, respecting everybody, and what you end up with then is a good team. And we've been thankful and grateful that we've been able to have that.
There was something that you did, guys, that I don't know if it's been mentioned yet, so I just want to quickly mention it because it might be useful to people, to other filmmakers. One of the things you really got right was your, I don't know what to call it, your pre-care and aftercare of the shoot day, because I know it's a concern for a lot of agents. And when you're asking people, especially when you're paying them, you know, or sometimes you might not be paying them at all, but you were paying people. But when you're asking people to go to a location that's just like a sat-nav thing, you were very good at looking out for people arriving and making sure they knew they were in the right place and making sure that, I mean, I've been to auditions, hopefully this doesn't happen anymore. I've been to some auditions in people's hotel rooms and stuff like this, you know. It used to be very dodgy sometimes. You didn't know what you were getting yourself into. And so I think this, what the good thing about this, and you didn't have people worrying about, oh, are we going to get paid? You know, you were right on it the next day, boom, you know, send us an invoice, things like that. That's really important for your reputation because agents will pick up on that. If you're using actors that have got agents and the agents are kind of going, oh, well, I really want them to do this kind of thing. And they feel that they're doing you a favor by letting their client be in your production, you know. That can sometimes be the attitude. And if they feel confident that you're looking after their clients and things, then you get the support of agents. Then you make a name for yourself in that circle. So if you're looking for actors, you know, it's always, I think, valuable to bear that in mind. And I don't know whether you were aware of that, but you were doing that right from the beginning. You got that right, you know. And sorry, so I thought that might be useful just to point out that it's an aspect that's sometimes not, even when you're doing theatre productions.
No,
it's
totally.
something that people don't consider sometimes.
I think that's a huge point that you've made there, Ian, and I think it's one given the kind of recent history of what has happened in the industry, it's so important, and Matthew mentioned it as well, the idea of respecting people and treating them properly is such a huge thing. And I think, you know, part and parcel of students and the students who work successfully together and then who go on to do really well, you tend to find that the behaviours get embedded, good behaviours get embedded very early on, and you get used to treating people like that, which is, for me, part and parcel of what it is to work in a team.
I mean, technically as well, I mean, I remember doing one student film, a fellow actor was making it, and it wasn't a paid thing, but I actually got invited to do another couple of gigs, you know, one-day things as a result of people who are in the crew and talking to them and finding out what they were doing. And, you know, oh, I'm doing sound, but I'm a filmmaker, and we talked to them, and I ended up doing a radio project with this guy. And so it's an incredible networking opportunity, yeah. And I think it's being mindful of that all the time, of what you're creating. Sorry, what am I trying to say? Even in the shoot that we did, Weegies is a good example, Alan, just to expand on what you're saying. There's the chance to get to know people. It's not just come in, do your bit and go away. It's come in, you got a chance to sort of meet everybody and get to know why they're there, what they're doing, what the role is, and, you know, learn everybody else's passions. And it does lead to other things. It's a very good thing to get involved in. you know, even if it's student films. I did a lot of student films when I was younger, and I still have done recently as well, just because they're actually exciting to do, because of the you meet people, you know, and you give life a chance to throw you some nice things now and then, you know, by getting out the door now and then. You know, do that recently. You know, when you're like me, you're getting on a bit, you know, you don't get the jobs as much, you know. So thanks for that.
Thank you. Thanks, Ian. I'm just yeah, it's 1:45. Should we start opening it up to questions from the students?
Kelly Marie has got her hand up. Kelly Marie.
Hi guys. I just want to say you've done absolutely amazing. Honestly, it's so inspiring. I was just 2 questions. So I love like Glaswegian comedy. That's just my thing. And I write like wee kind of sketches, and eventually I'd like to like write full scripts. I would just want to say, did you do that first? Did you like do the social media like short skits and then write the full script, or did you just do that like right away, just go right into the...
No, we've got 3 shots out, I think. No, we started off with the short stuff. I think excuse me, it's probably, I mean, everybody's got their own process, but you might be better off doing that, and then you can see what works and what would work in a long form, because obviously like we had ideas that just would never ever translate into an actual series or a character arc, whereas they might work really well for if you're doing like a 3-minute sketch, and then if you were wanting to, you could put that online or submit it to possibly BBC or something, and see how it goes.
Well, no, that was my thinking, because I thought, well, obviously it'd be easier at first, and then you're getting a gauge of kind of what people are interested in. The other thing, I missed the start of this, I really apologise, was see, like when you went to Amazon Prime, did you go directly yourself, or did you go through an agent, or?
Ourselves.
We went direct.
Was that?
Went ourselves, yep.
We haven't involved anybody else but ourselves.
Yeah.
Just go for it, just do it. Don't wait around. And see as well, just I realised what I said. See if you've got an idea for a long form script, just write it and just do it. Don't wait about. We didn't.
Well, I've started because I'm trying to have like healthy hobbies now that lockdown's finished. And I really enjoy it, and I feel myself getting right into it. And I've always kind of had it up here, but I'm trying to get it on paper. I've got final draft and all that. I'm like professional now. So that's how I was so interested to see. But no, you have done amazing, brilliant.
Thank you very much.
And good on you as well.
Yeah,
Thank you. Amazing, thanks.
Thanks, Kelly Marie. A couple of questions in the chat. Kim, who's one of our lecturers in film and TV, she's asking about the Kickstarter, £4,000. Did that pay for one episode, or was it the pilot? What was it? Just a?
It's no. So it was. The series was sort of filmed like a film. So it honestly maybe paid for a week.
Yeah,
a week.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke earlier. Steve mentioned, you know, the importance of having insurance, and which, you know, that's a big outlay as well. You know, making sure that you're working within the realms of legality, I guess, on the set as well. And then obviously it's things like making sure the cast and the crew are fed every day. And obviously from the get-go, we were absolutely determined we would be paying everybody involved. You know, very quickly that money disappears, and very, very quickly it becomes, you know, your money that's funding it. You know, we spoke earlier about how we were all working throughout it. There was a reason for that. There was a reason why we were having to work. You know, the £4,000, you know, I know it's a lot of money. £4,000's a massive amount of money, and we were very grateful we were even able to raise that much. But to be realistic, and you know, I don't want to sound doom and gloom or anything like that, but £4,000 disappears like that. You know, it goes very quickly. So it's hard to say how much it actually covered. You know, it was just it got added to the pot, which we then kept adding to through the years. You know.
Brilliant, thanks, guys.
And then
Alan's not had his breakfast. They just put in the chat there, it's so important to feed people. Alan, you're so right, sir.
That's one of the
It's
things
great
that we
yeah.
sorry, Molly. That's one of the things we always say to our students. If you can't pay them, feed them. Yeah. If you're bringing people on and they're doing things out of kindness, try and at least give them some food and make sure there's a toilet there as well. Yeah.
But it's actually quite, I mean, it's part of the whole professionalism ethics, I guess. I mean, that's the first thing for me, that when I went to film school, that was the first thing they said is, even if you pay them, feed them. Because it could be, antisocial hours. It could be, long hours. You don't want people's sugar levels going down, people getting hangry, like all of that. So absolutely.
I'm quite bad for that, so.
Sorry, Rowan's got a question.
Yeah, I just think one thing that's most daunting for students, both in film and TV and in acting, especially the honours students from acting that are here today, is how, you obviously got started, and I think your attitude is very much, we just have to go for it. And that kind of old adage of shy Wayne's getting any biscuits, I think, has very much been your attitude, which is fantastic. But now that you have, you've done it with Weegies and you're talking about future projects, do you have a sort of like template? Have you kept a lot of like your administration, and have you got a kind of point 1 to point 10 that you'll follow, that you've kind of set up now as a team of creatives that you can use going forward?
Yeah, and the thing is as well, I mean, every aspect of what we do, I mean, we didn't start like this, but now every aspect of what we do, we try and plan and organise and have a structure. And I mean, even that comes down to the writing. We've got to say that as well, to start with, the college, we'd stumble across ideas and stumble into a script, whereas now we try and organise everything. Time's precious, and you need to be organised. So whether that be the writing, whether that be the organising of a shoot, whether that be whatever it is, like you say, we do have a plan. We know how we operate, and the experience of creating this series and obviously getting onto Prime Video, it's invaluable to us, because that's now the blueprint. Now we know, right, okay, here's how we do it, here's what works for us, here's what works for our team as well, and we can then apply that into future projects as well. So I know there's a tendency within the sort of, you're a creative course, there's a tendency to have this sort of big idea that things will just flow into place, and you'll kind of, for us, it was much more effective to have a plan in place, to know every single step, try and know every single step, what was coming next. You quickly learn that you can't really predict what comes next, but, to try and mitigate any sort of unforeseen circumstances, having a wee plan in place really helps, and just try to get into that mindset of professionalism and organisation,
And now being where you're at, that headache of all that initial work, and obviously that will come again with whatever new project you go on to, but all that initial headache of, as Stephen said, all this admin and stuff that we don't like doing as creatives, that's worth it now, because you've got that there. So I think in terms of saying to the students, if you put in that groundwork and you have a sort of template, a model that you can eventually follow, if you get it right the first time, like you guys have done, you've put that quality into it and that time into it, you can use that again and again.
Absolutely, aye. I mean, I'm not going to lie, like, obviously it was 4 years trying to get it there, and me myself, I would sometimes lie in my bed just totally downbeat about it, and just like, how are we going to do this? But that's when you rely on people around you and your peers and things like that. I was going to say as well, see if you're about kind of professional practice. So I kind of learned that. I was fortunate enough to work for a really good company at the Fringe, and all I did was approach the producer and just did my research into, like, also what's this about the contracts, and he was actually really good to kind of explain to me about, like, maybe if you've been on student films or whatever, or sets, you'll sign something, blah blah blah, and like what's actually in that contract and about paying people and invoices. So I just like really did research into that and talk to people, because a lot of folk will help you, and the resources are online as well that you can look it up. So just don't be frightened or intimidated by it. It's just good practice, and it's just the way you would want to be treated. It's just common sense a lot of the time as well.
The one thing that Steve said there, and it just made me think. I mean, Steve was saying there was days where, we'd sit whatever, and you would think, man, there's so much work here. Where are we going with this? Where's it going to end up? if you're doing this, if you're going to go and set about, you know, creating a project, you know, give yourself a chance. You know what I mean? And it's all right to have days like that. It's all right to have weeks like that, years like that, whatever. You know, this has taken us years, and you know, it's taken us years. We still wouldn't sort of, I guess, class ourselves as a success or anything like that. We would never put that tag on ourselves. Give yourself a chance. You know what I mean? If you're wanting to do this and you want to set into it, realise that it will take time. Realise that you'll have days where you'll feel, you know, you'll feel like rubbish, you'll feel less inspired. That's all right. That's fine. Because that will mean that come the end of it, when you've done it and when you've achieved what goal, it'll be worth it, because you'll be looking back and going, you know what, we went through it, really went through the whole process. Don't rush yourself. You need to give yourself a chance, you know.
Thank you so much, Matthew. I think I would totally call you guys a success story, just in order to even just redefine what success is, because at the moment I think we see success as overnight successes and people rolling in money and all of that. But you know what? You set out to do a creative project in front of, like, to set eyeballs in front of it, and you've done it with integrity. I mean, if that's not success, then I don't know what is. I think
I've got no integrity left. But I mean, you know, thanks very much.
But no, thank you for the mindset, because I think that's, especially as, you know, people will graduate and will go through to the real world. I think that's it's probably, for me, that's the nugget wisdom that I'll take away from it, is the mindset is everything, and professionalism and everything that comes with that. But being able, the resilience, if nothing else, as a creative person in Scotland, you have to have
100% resilience and a thick skin.
Yeah, you're going to need that, definitely.
So Ian was asking, I think that will also be a really good question for the next 5 minutes, but how does Amazon Prime work? Because it's a very exciting network that's coming through. You know, I think there's obviously TV, but all the streaming services are really, really coming through now. So Amazon is, you know, definite, like somewhere that people would love to go. What are their criteria to be able to?
Just very quickly, I suppose. So
was it a submission process?
Yes, it's a submission process. I think we went through it with a fine-tooth comb. We are available in UK and USA, so you have to have subtitles, which you are obviously going to have typed up, which Matthew did for us. We're trying to get it into Canada and Australia.
Which was before the submission process, or after that? Okay.
Literally everything. We did everything before the submission, because we just did not want it to be rejected, because that 3-week waiting period, you can be rejected for your sound quality, your subtitles aren't right, your thumbnails aren't the correct size. Do the research. We were fortunate enough that we had our director really looking into it. He looked at all the specifics, blah, blah, blah. Get it submitted. I see a wee question there about like the money as well. It's not quite as bad as Spotify, but it is on minutes viewed, and it's not a great deal for the creatives. Say it's like Amazon will keep 7 pence of your 10 type of thing, and it goes off minutes streamed. We're getting really lucky now that we're actually doing quite well. So there might be a bit of money that'll probably just go right back out the door because it's us. But so it's not quite as bad as that, but it's just have everything ready to go, and then you won't need to get any knockbacks or extend your waiting period. That's
a really good advice. Thank you. Kim was asking, was it filmed in North Lanarkshire too? Was Weegies filmed in North Lanarkshire? I know you filmed in Cumbernauld, because I did ask.
We did a few in Cumbernauld. It's mainly in the East End, and we did a few in Cumbernauld. Anywhere that would have us, really.
Yeah. There you go. Somewhere Kim is clapping, I can hear her. So tagline, logline tips. Yeah, we have a course, I think, writing these now for their ideas. Taglines, loglines, have you guys written that for Weegies?
Yeah, I mean, it would just probably be exactly what you're teaching on your course. We sought advice from people on how to do it, and it's probably exactly the same as you guys were here. Just like keep it short, to the point. You probably hear elevator pitch or things like that. So it's just keep it short, snappy, and you want to be able to. I can't do. I'm not a lecturer, so I'm not really sure. But it's like you probably want to explain it in like a minute or something like that. I don't know.
It's something memorable, something folk will just remember, and that you'll remember as well. You're not going to forget what your own logline is, you know.
Nice, yeah, good one. And then someone's asking, how difficult do you find the acting part of the comedy, like the writing?
Very.
Right. I mean, you know, Steve and I write it. We're a great laugh writing it together. Listen, we'll just play with you right now, since you're all students. Well, you can the same course as us. You put Steve and I together in front of a camera in the same scene as each other. 9 times out of 10, that scene's going to need shot over and over again, because we're a nightmare in terms of cops and on camera. But it's a good point, because look, the thing is, the mindset to get into it, and I think it's something we learned at college as well. If you're on a film set and you make a mistake or whatever, they'll just go back and retake it again. And also, you've got to get in the mindset, because there's always this thing of like, you know, feeling awkward because there's a whole crew around the place. There's the sound team, the cameraman, everything. But the thing is, that team, that crew, that's a machine, and that machine is only geared in one direction, which is to get through the shoot. So they want you to do well. You know what I mean? There's nobody on a film set that's wanting you to fail. Everybody wants you to do well. And you know, if you mess up a line. Trust me, like, we've got so.
There's a scene in episode, what is it, 4?
Four, I think so.
And I don't know if any of you have watched it, but it's basically like Steve's got this dream sequence thing, and it makes Matthew's character Paul piss himself in it, and it's not even on screen for that long. It's maybe like half a minute, and I think we did that 25 times, and the only time I never laughed is in the scene.
Yeah,
and he was getting raging. That's gonna help. It's not even like it's just one of the things.
It will happen.
It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be fun. That's why we all do it. It's meant to be fun.
Definitely.
Amazing. Well, I think that's us on time. I mean, I've been so proud to get to know you guys. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, Ian, you should be very proud. Rowan as well. Thank you so much for coming on as well and participating.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for everybody for listening to our nonsense.
Yeah, good luck with everything.
Good luck with everything you're going through.
There's 50 odd students on this call, so I would recommend over the next week or so, every single one of you goes to watch Weegies on Amazon Prime and get these guys some streaming minutes, because that will help with our next project. So that's one thing I want to finish on and say. Go watching it. Go and watch it. Well done. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Brilliant. Thank you. Take care. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming along.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Thank you.